Thanks everyone for joining the call today. This is the fifth of 5 sessions we've had today, covering all lines of business across BT and Openreach, etc. We've got National Officer for Group Stroke Personnel, Dave Jukes, on, who's going to give us an update on what's going on in that particular section. After that, I'll open it up for a Q&A session. I do have some questions which have already been sent through to me. However, if you want to ask a question live, just stick it in the box at the bottom in the little chat box, and I can either bring you in or just type your question in there. We can ask Dave. So without further ado, Dave, over to yourself.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Carl, and thanks for the invite to speak to members in the Northwest. I'll just give you a bit of background of what I'm doing and what the personnel team is responsible for regarding redundancies, and then sort of move on to the campaign and what happens after the campaign, the consultative ballot, and potentially what happens after that. But just to give you a background of what I'm dealing with, we're dealing with redundancies at BT Group level, several business units, and it involves around just over 20 people that are subject to compulsory redundancy. Some people have voluntarily left the company, but there are others going through the individual consultation meetings. The IC1 and IC2s have taken place. We're putting counter proposals to the company on ways and means of avoiding the redundancies, and that is in line with the Trade Union and Labour Relations Act, which puts substantive obligation on employers to actually avoid, mitigate or reduce redundancies. And their obligations is to listen to what's termed as counter proposals, both from the recognised trade union that represents workers in the workplace, but also from employees themselves, members themselves, that they put within the individual consultation meetings, and also if they think of things in between, they're able to submit counter proposals as well. And just to give you some examples of which highlights the problem of where we are with the company, and examples of counter proposals that we put in as a team. And I know other teams have perhaps spoken about this and highlighted the issues. Some of the counter proposals are fairly straightforward, and one is, why don't you stick to the agreements that you've got with the CWU? We have collective agreements. We have as part of those agreements, it deals with resourcing, it deals with people whose role is for one reason or another no longer exists, and what we do, how we help find another role within the company. And the reason we put that to the company as a counter proposal is because that's what we've been doing for the past 20 years. We've been working with the company to deal with people who become redeployees because their role disappears there's lots of reasons why a role may disappear, but we work with the company, and we've been really successful over the past 2 decades to deal with people who are redeployees, people who find themselves without a role within the company. That has been through something called the Transition Centre. People move into there, they're given support and help to find other roles, they're given training and awareness, they're allowed to go on to projects and that sort of thing, so not only to gain skills but also maintain skills as well. And that's been really successful. There's been no need to move to compulsory redundancy because on the basis that the company would, if it needed, to put forward voluntary schemes which helped in finding other roles and opening up roles for people that wanted to stay at the company, which seems pretty practical and fairly common sense wise to actually deal with resourcing. So fast forward in the last few months, we've got different people running the company, we've got different attitudes, we've got an aggressive, impersonal, macho style of management, doesn't care about its employees, absolutely no compassion whatsoever for its employees, and now just really believes that if it's got a problem with resource or it wants to offshore something, what do? We just make people compulsory redundant and we send them through the process. That's something that we've never had in the company. We've got, for example, within New Grid, the collective agreement we've got the EDI process, we've got redeployment, all those sorts of things that we could use to deal with that sort of issue. The company's point blank refusing to use those parts of the collective agreement. What is really annoying, and I've just personally come off a call with BT Group on this issue, is that these issues would resolve the redundancy situation without any question whatsoever. It would resolve the situation, but they will not move. They will not seriously consider the counter proposals that would resolve the redundancy situation. There's also the issue, and this is more related to the style and the way the company is being run. The issue of the redundancy agreements that we have with the company, Annex 2 of the pensions agreement, which we reached in 2018. Annex 2 has a redundancy calculation agreed with the company only less than 2 years ago. The company has now given notice on that. It went out to its employees asking what their view was of the changes to the redundancy process contained within Annex 2. They got a very low turnout, but the turnout was largely people saying that you must be joking, why are you doing this? Nevertheless, the company is at this moment in time appears to be intent on changing the redundancy terms that we negotiated with the CWU, and those terms, not surprisingly, will be far less than what we have at this moment in time. And I think members need to understand why it's going to be far less, or potentially far less, unless we do something about it. It's because they want to get rid of more people. I mean, there's no sort of other reason than it's going to be cheaper to sack people. And that's the reason behind the change to the redundancy agreement. So don't let anybody from any line of business, Openreach, any other line of business that's not been affected, at some point, this attitude, this way of managing will affect everyone within the company. So we've got the situation. How are we dealing with that situation? Well, we've got a twin track approach. Firstly, no matter how bad it gets, no matter how bad things get, we have to engage the company. We have to do our best and engage the company in trying to resolve this, using everything we've got as a union to challenge the company back. That's what I've just been doing just a few minutes ago with the company. We have to challenge them and meet them and make them try and understand and change their thinking as to why what they're doing is not only a mistake, but is damaging the company. BT is getting millions, if not billions, of taxpayers' money to build a fibre network. It's your money, it's public money, and what they're doing with it, they are investing some of it, but some of it's being used to pay redundancies within BT. Right, that's not what the taxpayer wanted for their money. They wanted it to be put into a network that would be available to everybody, not to treat the workers in the way that they're doing. So the campaign has started, the Count Me In campaign. It started off a little bit slowly, I have to admit, but now it's getting traction. Getting a lot of traction, getting a lot of notice. You'll see in the press, Sky News, Daily Mail, local press, particularly, for example, in Glasgow, the local papers got articles in the paper on that. There's other sort of local news as well. You've got MPs that are supporting the CWU, and they're making the point as well that taxpayers' money shouldn't be used to make people redundant. It should be used to build a fibre network and make the country a little bit better. And that brings me on to another point, because the work that everybody's doing, everybody, in particular team members and key workers, and those that are not key workers, they have been keeping the company going. Not the people sat in BT Centre, not the people sat behind a desk. The people that are keeping this company going are the engineers, the people in the call centres, the people in the offices. They're the ones that are keeping this company up and running. They're the ones that are keeping the NHS lines and computer systems going, not the CEO or the chairman or whatever you want to call them of each individual business unit. They're not out there climbing poles and digging holes or taking calls in a call centre. You know, CWU members are doing that. So we've got the campaign. The campaign is running. Obviously, this is a significant day. It's the second day of action that we've had, November the 5th, and we've got all the the points associated with the November the 5th and the points. You've seen the DGSC, full support from the General Secretary, and full support from our postal colleagues and the executive from there. Absolutely, fantastic. Everybody, all the representatives, regional representatives within the CWU, all supporting us in the way that we are fighting back from the company. So today is a key day for us, a real key day, because the consultative ballot, to run a consultative ballot, and that will be running in the next week or so. You'll all be aware of what's taking place on that. And the consultative ballot is an absolutely key moment for us as a union, for ourselves and for yourselves as members. What we need from that is a significant and massive turnout on that in support of what we're doing as a union, what you want us to do, and that's defend your terms and conditions and your jobs as well. And we need not only a massive yes vote, but a massive turnout. So you need to, once you get the communications from the CWU, please fill it in. As soon as you get it, please fill it in. There will be, I think, there's largely a 3-week period for the ballot, so that will give people bags of time, bags of opportunity to take part in the ballot and to send a message to the company that you as employees are not happy and do not accept the way that you are being managed or being treated. And that is essential, because they think that what they're doing, that people agree with the business case and the way they're running the company. I know that's not the fact, but you need to tell the company, and one of the ways of doing that is through the consultative ballot. And we will then, make the outcome of that ballot public, and we will make BT aware of, what the output is of that. But if the company, I'm hoping that will change the company's mind. I'm hoping that show of massive rejection of where the company's been managed will be something that the company will reflect on and start to change and start to engage the CWU seriously on trying to resolve the issues that it has. If the company does not respond in a positive way or tries to even accelerate what it's trying to do, then we will have, in my personal view, we'll have no option but to ballot for industrial action. And you all need to be prepared for that, because there is no way, if you just sat through the call that I've just sat through, trying to keep people in work, trying to defend people who are subject to compulsory redundancy, and the individual stories and individual people that I've spoken to, if you go through that, there's no other option, in my view. There's no other option. We have to stop the company treating people like they're doing. So I'm hoping the company will see sense, but we need to send them that message, and that message has to come out in the consultative ballot. I think I'll stop there, Pete, and if there's any questions.
No, that's great. Thanks, Dave. The first one, probably the first question we've covered on the other sessions as well, and it's regards to consultative ballot. A
Yeah.
lot of the sort of the younger people and probably don't know what a consultative ballot is, and want to know sort of basically what it is and why we're not going straight for industrial action
Yeah.
ballot.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point, fair question. A consultative ballot is not an industrial action ballot. Basically, what we are doing is, as the terminology sort of suggests, is we are consulting with our members. We will put in a question to the membership. We are consulting with you. It's important, as I said, that we get a significant turnout, a massive yes vote in this, but it's not an industrial action ballot. It's for us to be able to say, look, you don't represent to the company, you don't represent the employees' views, we do, because this is what they're saying to us. We've asked them a question and they've responded massively in favour of what we're saying. They don't accept what you're doing and the changes that are taking place within the company. And so I'm hoping, I have to say I have some doubts, but I am hoping that their company's thinking will change. And if it does, that's great. We'll do what we have to do, and we'll get around the table with the company and try and resolve what we've got in front of us, the problems we've got in front of us. And then if not, as I've said earlier, we'll have to do other things.
That's great. Thanks, Dave. There's a couple of questions here that are on a similar theme, so I'll put them both together.
Okay.
The company has informed the CWU that the redundancies within BT Group functions is a targeted exercise. Why then have part-timers, women and disabled employees been targeted? All the part-timers are women, some have disabilities. And the second part is, why will the company not allow employees with disabilities to be interviewed if they have some of the skills needed for vacant roles?
Yeah, that's those good questions. Let me be clear. What the company said to us at the very first meeting that we had was that these redundancies were targeted. Those words, not ours. And the subject of that target were, as what Peter's just read out, they're largely all the part-timers within this group of people were all women. So that's the company talks a good fight, if you like, around it wants to be a more diverse company. Well, let me tell you, that's not where business is concerned. And quite a number of people have got disabilities, and others work from home for caring responsibilities as well. So they have targeted people that they believe they don't need. And that is an outrageous decision. That's something we're pushing back so hard, putting the team and everybody around, these issues are putting in so much effort, and that effort is being put in by your local representatives representing these people and others at IC1 individual consultation meetings, working really, really hard, tirelessly to try and prevent people from being made compulsory redundant. So there's no want of effort and no want of commitment from us, but what we need is change from the company. And at this moment in time, they're not listening, and we need to change that. And I've explained how we changed it, how we need to change it. The interviews, well, some people will remember that BT was classed as a two ticks company. That's now moved on to being a disability confident company. It's the same thing. It's a government backed scheme where basically companies sign up to the government scheme where they give commitments on how they will deal with people with disabilities within the workplace. And part of that is guaranteeing them where they have around 50% of the potential skills within a role, then they will guarantee them an interview. Let me tell you, that's not happening. The company signs up to these things. Do they deliver? They are not delivering on that. They are not delivering. They're not delivering on trying to keep people with disabilities within the company. So that should be a message to everybody there that don't have a disability within BT, because our experience is that you can become a target. You can be moved out and made compulsory redundant based on the fact that you have a disability and you don't have a role. So again, we have pushed really hard to the point at which we probably pushed well, not too much, but we pushed really hard on that. And I won't go into detail, but the company do know what our stance is and what our response is to what they've been doing. They are absolutely clear what we think.
Thanks for that, Dave. There's another two questions here that are probably very similar, so I'll put them both to you together if that's okay.
Thanks, Kate. Yeah, that's fine.
Why will the company not allow employees targeted for redundancy to be able to work from home? Most employees have been working from home during the COVID-19 crisis and have shown great commitment to the company and maintaining their performance. And why will the company not allow voluntary release schemes which would guarantee, no, sorry, Dave, will the company make an agreement with the CWU to allow home, agile, smart working for team members?
Yeah. What we've pushed for, as you would expect, is all the mechanisms, if you like, all the ways of dealing with this situation is we've put as counter proposals to the company. And one of the issues that we've put, not just this, but the home working policy still exists within BT. And if people, for example, can't move to a certain location, or they've got disabilities, but the role has disappeared, and they're working from home, that they retain their home working, and the company brings work to them. The company will not do that, and said it will not do that. We are pushing for sort of agile and smart working, and there is some potential progress on that. I can't say any more than that, but agile, smart working as a company call it. The issue for us there is that how it's initially been put forward, if you like, and detailed, is that largely it's down to the individual manager whether or not he will allow his team members to work in an agile way. And what that means is perhaps working. What that means is perhaps you would work a couple of days a week in the office that that's your home, that's your work location, but then 2 or 3 other days you would work from home. Now that's a step forward if it works, but as it's written now, it's a bit useless because the company really has just given the manager the ability to say yes or no with no sort of agreement around that. And the issue for that is people can't plan. If somebody's got caring responsibilities, got children that they need to, for example, pick up from work or at school, pick up from school or whatever, that they can't, if they're not guaranteed that level of certainty around their childcare or caring responsibilities, then it's of no use to it's very little use to them, because they need certainty to be able to look after children and caring responsibility they care for. So slight movement, but nowhere near enough, and maybe it's just it's potentially part of a way of them trying to justify in a tiny way of what they're doing, and try to perhaps knock a sharp edge off everything else that they're doing. It's not working, I have to say, but it's a slight improvement, but nothing major, nothing that's going to change the situation anyway.
No, that's great, that, Dave, and thanks for the update. I've got no more questions, and I don't think there's anything in the chat box. Is there anything you'd like to say to summarise, Dave, before I sort of close the meeting?
Thanks, Pete, and again, just thanks everybody for the invite. I just wanted to make a couple of brief points, really. First thing is that this is not going to go away, and it's going to affect everybody, all members. It's not going to go away. We're not going to just go through a bad patch and then it's going to be okay in the next few months. It really is not. This is going to continue for the foreseeable future, for a long time. because it's more of a hire and fire mentality that's coming to the company. So if they need you, you might get employed, but if they don't need you, they'll just dismiss you, and there'll be that way of managing people. It will affect everyone. The Better Workplace program, we're not opposed to the Better Workplace program. We accept, and we've been through these programs before. It's nothing new. People in BT who've come into BT think it's something new. We've been doing it for decades, moving people around buildings. What is new is the uncompromising way that companies dealing with this. And if you can't make the new location, then potentially you're in scope for going to be in scope for redundancy. It's happening in Aberdeen as we speak. People are subject to redundancy there because the offices in Aberdeen are closing. So it's not going to end, and it will affect everybody. The second point is, I just wanted to restate just how much effort all your CWU representatives are putting in to represent you, and just make it clear there is nobody else that is representing you, pushing back the company, pushing back in the individual consultation meetings, pushing back on managers both nationally and locally. Nobody else is fighting on your behalf, despite all things that the company says it's doing. Not one of them, nobody outside the CWU is fighting on your behalf, right? And for those people that potentially might listen to this, or for those that are members, you need to speak to those people who have not gotten around to join the CWU, speak to them and encourage them to join. And for those that are not sure, now is the time to join. Now is the time to join, because you are going to need representation at some point in the near future. And the more membership we've got a good membership. But if you're not a member, you need to join, and we will be that bit stronger if we get even more people in the union. I'll just finish on that point, Pete.
No, thanks very much, Dave, and thanks for joining the session today.
Welcome.
And giving us an update. I think the whole day's been absolutely fantastic today with all
that's good.
The 5 officers that have come on from the national team and give an update. What I would urge other members to do, and other people that have listened to it today, is go and listen to, if you're not in that particular line of business, doesn't mean you don't, go and listen to the outreach one, go and listen to the consumer one, and you'll get a feel for what's going on company-wide as well. So it's really important that everybody understands that it's not just their line of business that's affected, or their line of business that isn't affected. It is across the board. So yeah, like I say, Dave, thanks very much. And I'd also like to thank Carl as well for running the 5 sessions, and everyone that's come on today. But what's come out of all the sessions today is that people are now coming on board with the campaign. Our members are actively wanting to be involved with it. We've seen a lot of stuff on social media coming out, and people joining Facebook groups and Facebook pages by the hundreds. So people are aware of it. So my closing message to all our members would be, let's deliver on this. Let's deliver a massive yes vote in the upcoming consultative ballot. Thanks very much, everybody, for your time, and have a nice evening.